Hey y'all, it's me again. Happy 4th of July. Hey. Yeah, later my boyfriend could come and then we're gonna have lunch here, I think. And then around like 4 or 5 or so, my mom, and my boyfriend are gonna watch the fireworks. We're gonna go there around 4 or 5 so that we can get good seats, semi good seats, and then around 9, when the fireworks start here, we're gonna watch the fireworks. And yeah, and so yeah, yay! Happy 4th of July, everybody. So let's continue reading. Secret Lives of the First Ladies. Appropriately enough. Okay, let's continue. Making the grade. Barbara Bush's gray hair became something of a symbol to Americans as the First Lady's matronly appearance and demeanor. Her family nicknamed her the Silver Fox. In fact, her brown hair went white at quite an early age, and the cause was tragic. In 1953, the Bush's first daughter, Robin, contracted leukemia. The little girl spent 8 months in a New York hospital, attended by her parents until she died. Needless to say, the long vigil proved devastating to both Barbara and her husband. By the time of Robin's death, Barbara's hair had gone white. She tried at first to color it brown, but eventually gave up. Yeah, like me. Weighty issues. Barbara Bush was masterful at the art of self-deprecating humor. That she was no fashion diva was as obvious to her as it was to the rest of the country, and she had no desire whatsoever to do anything about it. As she remarked upon becoming First Lady, my mail tells me a lot of fat, white-haired, wrinkled ladies are tickled pink. She once said that her winning smile makes me look as if I'm being electrocuted. But it was her weight that Barbara joked about most often, a subject that produced some of her finest one-liners. At the beginning of her first ladyship, reporters questioned her about predecessor Nancy Reagan. As you know, we have a long coming, she replied. She adores her husband. I adore mine. She fights drugs. I fight illiteracy. She wears a size 3. So's my leg. When Parade magazine received a question from one of its readers about their first lady's weight, it printed an article that put her between 135 and 145 pounds. Just for starters, she quoted in a speech shortly after the information was published. I was born weighing 135 pounds. Then there was a trip to visit soldiers in the Gulf during Thanksgiving, in the course of which she was to sit down to no less than 3 holiday dinners. Her remark to reporters summed it up nicely. You know, I was built for the job. Willard! During her husband's inaugural parade in 1989, Barbara Bush broke from her Secret Service detail and ran for the barricades lining Pennsylvania Avenue. She had spotted everyone's favorite weatherman, Willard Scott, and ran over to give him a kiss. Aww. Yay, I guess. Mock lobster. Get it? Rock lobster! Mock lobster. While Second Lady Barbara Bush occasionally indulged her sense of vanity by attending state dinners without her glasses, at one of them she proceeded to dig into the first course, a lobster tail, only to be interrupted by the Australian Prime Minister who was sitting next to her. Barbara, he whispered, that's the adornment. The lobster tail proved to be only a lobster shell. Mortified by a faux pas, she soon scheduled an appointment with an eye doctor to get some contact lenses. As well she should. Because she needs glasses. Or contact lenses. And I think we're almost done. Yay! Here we're on the second to last lady. Because don't forget this was copyrighted in 2005. Does it do today's first lady or Obama's first lady or Obama's wife? Okay, so let's continue. Chapter 38. Hillary Rodham Clinton, October 26th to 1947, and she's still alive today. I know that for certain. Because she tried to run against Donald Trump, what was it, 2 years ago, I think it was? Something like that. I was going through a lot at that time, so I don't exactly remember. Anyways, let's continue. Married October 11th, 1975. Presidential husband, William Jefferson Clinton. Children, Chelsea Victoria. First Lady, 1993 through 2001. Astrological sign, Scorpio. Religion, Methodist. Soundbite. I am surprised at the way people seem to perceive me, and sometimes I read stories and hear things about me and go, ugh, I wouldn't like her either. As First Lady, Hillary Rodham Clinton proposed a Byzantine healthcare plan that baffled many in Congress, including her own supporters. Hillary Rodham Clinton has racked up quite a few firsts in her storied lifetime. The first Wellesley student to be allowed to speak at commencement, the first lawyer to become First Lady, the first First Lady to be given an office in the West Wing right along with her husband, and the first wife of a president to be elected to the Senate. Of course, she was also the first presidential spouse to be subpoenaed by a grand jury. It's a dubious distinction, to be sure, and lies at the heart of Mrs. Clinton's evolving legacy. For all her achievements, ability, she has become forever associated with the scandals and strife that dominated her husband's presidency. And I think you'll find out soon enough what that scandal is. Even from a young age, Hillary Rodham was clearly going places. Born in Chicago and raised in Park Ridge, Illinois, she was infused with an appreciation for personal achievement and community service by her Methodist church and by her parents, Hugh Ellsworth Rodham and Dorothy Howell Rodham. By the time she graduated from high school, she was an honor student, voted most likely to succeed, which became true, sort of, and had helped fellow teens organize volunteer efforts to help the underprivileged, particularly migrant workers. Her curriculum at Wellesley College went well beyond classes in political science, and she became famous on campus for her outspoken liberalism and for boycotting classes on behalf of civil rights. She was just as active in New Haven after she entered Yale Law School in 1969, organizing protests against the Vietnam War and joining a student movement to ensure legal objectivity in the trial of Black Panther members. Women's issues were also very important to her. She fought to have tampon dispensers placed in all of Yale's ladies' room. To fellow law student Bill Clinton, Hillary was a perfect woman. Intelligent, dedicated, pretty, and independent. They fell in love shortly after meeting in 1970. After graduation, Hillary ended up pursuing her own course for a time by joining the legal staff of the committee that was attempting to impeach President Richard Nixon. Her relationship with Clinton, however, proved more powerful. Though her friends and associates vigorously attempted to talk her out of it, she decided to go to Arkansas to help Bill Clinton with his congressional campaign, and help she did. While teaching law at the University of Arkansas, she learned her consummate intelligence and legal savvy to Clinton's campaign, playing a vital role in his political endeavors. After marrying him in 1975, she continued to devote time to her own career as well as his, working for Jimmy Carter's presidential campaign in 1976 and serving on the board of her friend Miriam Wright Edelman's Children's Defense Fund. She helped Bill get elected Arkansas's Attorney General, went to work for the Rose Law Firm in 1976, at which she would eventually make full partner, and devoted much of her time to Bill's successful run for governor in 1978. It's as if she were living two lives, and both of them were going splendidly. Well, not quite. In fact, many Arkansans had some bones to pick with the governor's wife. Bill was a native, but his wife was anything but. And she seemed to play the Outlander bit too well. She hadn't taken Clinton's name, for instance, a fact that made her look like some sort of feminine. No! Moreover, she displayed a galling habit of going without makeup and showing up in frumpy dresses and big glasses that made her look like a crunchy freak. Or worse, some sort of carpetbagger come to preach the liberal gossip to the uninitiated. When Clinton lost his bid for re-election in 1982, his wife took it as a clarion call for change. Both of them immediately began working for his gubernatorial return in 1984, but Hillary went the extra mile by getting contact styling in her hair and replaced its decidedly unpopular duds with business suits. Oh yeah, she also started calling herself Hillary Rodham Clinton. Whether because of Hillary's makeover or not, Bill got back into the governor's mansion and wouldn't leave until becoming president in 1993. As for Mrs. Clinton, she began performing her old trick of working for her husband and herself at the same time, and doing both rather well. The governor made her chair of the Arkansas Educational Standards Committee, in which capacity Hillary proved a canny legislator and efficient manager of change. But she was also bringing in more bacon than her important husband by continuing in her law practice and serving on the boards of companies like Walmart, with the added responsibility of raising her daughter Chelsea, born in 1980. Hillary had truly become the ultimate multitasker. And one of her many tasks was coping with her husband's monstrous libido. Bill had proven incapable of resisting extramarital temptations even before they were extramarital. He was cheating on Hillary before they were married. That Clinton didn't even have the decency to be cautious about it, so it would make things worse, and not just because of the inevitable humiliation. Hillary had her eyes fixed on the White House as surely as Bill had, and his reckless womanizing was creating unnecessary trouble. The result was a promise by Clinton not to screw up anymore, and an effort on both their parts to perfect their marital image for the 1992 presidential race. There was trouble, nevertheless, when more allegations about Clinton's philandering became public during the campaign. He and Hillary decided to squelch the crisis by making a television appearance to convince the nation of their marital solidarity. I'm staying here, said Hillary to the camera, because I love him and I respect him and I honor what he's been through and what we've been through. The spot worked for the most part, though Mrs. Clinton insisted that she wasn't some little woman standing by my man like Tammy Wynette. Invoked the wrath of the country western singer for what she considered a misinterpretation of her lyrics. Hillary had run into similar trouble when she replied to questions about her obvious influence by saying, I suppose I could have stayed at home and baked cookies, inspiring firestorm of criticism from those who thought she was smugly insulting full-time homemakers. All in all, it proved a challenging campaign for both Clinton. This was a time where women could decide to either stay at home or work, where we had the freedom to choose if our husbands made good enough money where we didn't have to work if we didn't want to. We could decide to either go to work or stay at home if our husband made enough money. And Hillary Clinton just did not get that at that time. and yet they won. It was a realization of a dream that Hillary had irritated for years. She had been Bill Clinton's closest advisor since he began his political career, and her influence would only increase with time. Of course, there had been presidential marriage/partnerships before, but nothing like this. Hillary's enormous role in the administration would become clear just weeks after the inauguration, when the president appointed his wife chair of a task force to oversee health care reform. If Mrs. Clinton brought enormous legal and managerial clout to the job, it only served to make her failure more conspicuous. Healthcare was no easy nut to crack, to be sure, but the First Lady's Byzantine recommendations have left Congress utterly befuddled, and the program was defeated. Critics of the administration are already making noise about what they considered Hillary's inappropriate power in the White House. The healthcare debacle just made things worse. The inevitable result was a retreat into something like a more traditional First Lady role. For the rest of her husband's stint as president, Hillary would devote her efforts to issues that had long been dear to her: child welfare and women's rights. In addition to publishing a book entitled It Takes a Village, 1996, which outlined a program for fashioning communities that could allow children to make the most of their potential, she spoke widely both in America and abroad on feminist issues and the need for children's legal protection. Most people, however, were paying close attention to the legal battles that overtaken the administration. Though Clinton won re-election in 1996, his reputation had been souring since 1994, when the Attorney General began an investigation of the Clintons' alleged illegal dealings. Back in Arkansas, was a real estate scam run by the Whitewater Development Corporation. Hillary herself was in hot water over missing building records from her old employer, the Rose Law Firm. Written off by the First Lady as attacks by a vast right-wing conspiracy, neither accusation would result in conviction, or for that matter, elimination of the real facts. The Whitewater investigation, however, did end up prying into an area of profound vulnerability for the president: his extramarital affairs. When the president was caught on tape lying about his White House affair with intern Monica Lewinsky, this stuff really hit the fan, resulting in an impeachment trial. Clinton escaped conviction, but the whole mess put a decidedly felt patina on the remainder of his second term. Of course, it also left a foul taste in Hillary's mouth. For years, she had been trying to overlook her husband's transitions and welcome him back into the marriage after he strayed. Her devotion to him will perhaps always remain a matter of conjecture. What seems more certain, however, is that she'd been riding his coattails for too long, offering the best of her mind in exchange for wayward behavior. The result was probably inevitable, if somewhat controversial. After offering conspicuous clues about her intentions in 1999, Hillary formally announced in 2000 her intention to run for senator from New York. New York? Yes, New York. The residency issue was settled when the Clintons bought a huge house in Westchester County, New York. The rest was settled by women. If Hillary Clinton was thought by many to be a mouth-off and an opportunistic enabler, she was considered a fighter for feminism and a female icon by plenty of New York's women. 60% of them ended up voting for her in the Senate race, giving her a fairly large victory. In many ways, therein lies the conundrum of Hillary Rodham Clinton. As a highly educated and intensely motivated woman, she inspires the hottest of emotions. To Americans, she is either a marvelously capable heroine of the women's movement or a conniving and manipulative witch on wheels. Whatever the truth may be, Ms. Clinton may well be on her way to achieving yet another first. The first woman to run for president. Hey, it may never happen, but can you imagine the voter turnout? Yeah, she tried to run in 2005, and then she tried again, I guess, in 2022 or something like that. I don't remember. And we know how that went. She lost because she's so fucking stupid. I mean, like, women didn't want to vote for her because of her past, about how she let slide her own husband's infidelities, her own husband's cheating, especially with Monica Lewinsky, the most famous case of them all. Why? Because Monica Lewinsky didn't do it for money. She did it, I don't know why. Monica Lewinsky came forward on her own because she wanted to. Oh, by the way, this is coffee. Anyways, yeah. So, anyways, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And please ring that bell notification if you're on YouTube, so that you can know when I upload my videos, because I'm trying to be consistent as much as possible, but my schedule is always up in the air and whatnot. So, yeah. So, anyways, there's that. And then, if you're on TikTok, please like and follow my videos. And on YouTube, let's get to 50 subscribers. And on TikTok, let's get to 50 followers. Because once we do that, then I can do something special for you guys. Okay? Yay! And please pay for something on either my eBay and or my card. Okay? Bye!